In my book it's 88, so this is in the purport to 12, mantra 12, somewhere in the middle. Thus far we have not come across any mantra in Sri Isopanisad in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is denied, nor jiva, nor matter. Right? So Isopanisad does not deny any of these. So, this is the explanation of Isopanisad. So, first mantra establishes the principle, already has the three things which comprise the reality. So the first mantra establishes this sambandha and already establishes the proper way of acting to make us free. It establishes that the Lord is the controller and the enjoyer, so we should be tyaktena, we should be detached, we should give all the matter that is given to us to the Lord, and whatever comes as His mercy, that we enjoy or we use as our quota. But we don't stop work, because not just by stopping work we become free, as we discussed. So immediately Isopanisad corrects our mistake number one as spiritualists, that we think I should, if I don't want to enjoy, just drop any work, stop any work. No, Isopanisad says no, you work, and moreover it establishes the principle of responsibility, that we are responsible, we are souls. This is divine philosophy of responsibility, and those who shirk, who reject responsibility, it's usually a demonic philosophy. And then mantras 4 and 5 describe the qualities of this Isha, 6 and 7 describe the loving vision, how to see Krishna inside of everything and outside of everything, which is similar to these two, that he is the controller and the owner or enjoyer of everything. So everything is in him. So that means it's his, and he is in everything, which means he controls everything. Right? His two causes, efficient and material, and thus we can surrender both our desires either to enjoy or to control. And why? And then we have this loving vision. And why this? And then what are the three results of this loving vision? You remember? What are the three results of seeing Krishna in everything? You become free from the influence of time in three phases. Anxiety, no anxiety. Fear, no illusion, and no fear, no illusion, and no limitation.
Was heißt Anxiety?
And how is it possible? Mantra 8 says it's possible because we meditate on Krishna, and Krishna is himself, is pure, he doesn't have material body, he's free from anxiety, he's all powerful. And by meditating on him, we become also like that. So, and then we have 6 mantras tweaking our practice. So describing the dangers on the path of practice. And these are the shocker mantras. We have a simple translation, but the direct translation is that if you cultivate ignorance or worship the relative, you go to heaven. If you cultivate knowledge or worship the absolute, you go to an even worse hell. That's the first. And then in parampara, again we can learn that we can achieve a different result. And then the third mantra gives a synthesis the synthesis of both vidya vidya, or worship of relative and absolute. This is the idea of balance, the idea of proper synthesis and harmony. So today we conclude with our mantra 14. Let us read mantra 14 one more time. Beautiful. Everybody has it? Let's chant the Sanskrit together. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedobhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutyam ridhamasnute. One should know perfectly the personality of God Shri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, man and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it. And in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. This is a very expanded translation together with some commentary. The direct translation is that one who knows both the relative and the absolute together, simultaneously, relative and the absolute, by the relative, knowledge of the relative, he conquers death, and by the absolute, he achieves immortality. So we need the synthesis, the union of both. So it's again a Upanishadic language, which is meant to be a little bit mysterious, a little bit either contradictory, or it has, we have to stop, when we hear it, when we read a real Upanishad, when we read it, we have to make a pause and think, what does it mean? Then we know it's Upanishad. We have something similar in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It also mentions Krishna is inside and outside, and Krishna is far, and he is very close. He is the source of all qualities, but he is free from all qualities. It's Upanishadic language. Also, Upanishads love, in the Bhagavatam we have many passages, Upanishads love to mix together Atma and Paramatma. They just speak about Atma without making a clear distinction sometimes. It's actually quite often. And this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's translation. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur translates Shirsh Upanishad, he translates all these verses as applying both to Atma and Paramatma. So when even these qualities of Krishna, he translates as verses 4 and 5. He translates as applying both to the soul and super soul. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation. And then later we find out that there is a difference. So even though they are one, there's also a difference, because one is the Lord and the other is just a small part. That's Upanishad. That's Upanishadic language. So it has to give us a pause. Prabhupada translates this as a preaching book. And this was one of the first books he ever translated. It was published in Back to Godhead before he came to the West. I think it was 1956 or something when he actually first published it. And therefore you can see that he makes it in a more gentle and simple way to understand for an outsider. But he gives word by word, so that if you want to have all the esoteric beauty, all the esoteric mystery of the Upanishad, you can have it. It's here. It's also here. And by the way, as far as I remember, in that first translation, he made it. He chose the more startling Überraschung translation. One who worships non-absolute goes to hell, and one who worships the absolute goes to hell. He didn't have impersonal there, which is quite startling. Now we have one who worships impersonal absolute. Oh, okay, that's okay. That's not me. That's them. That doesn't refer to me. So it's kind of very easy, right? So this is a good translation for preaching. It's a good translation for selling on the street, and for an ordinary person to immediately read, and immediately he sees, okay, I should accept Krishna consciousness. But the Upanishad herself is very deep, and doesn't spare any shockers. On the contrary, it tries to stir us, it tries to surprise us, and that's often the style of teaching. Or sometimes to confuse. Sometimes teaching consists in confusing. You can see that Krishna did it with Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. In the second chapter, he confuses Arjuna. But that's good, because otherwise Arjuna thinks he knows everything. Right? Arjuna thinks, I already know everything. So, but when he's confused, finally he gets some questions. He says, wait a minute, isn't there a contradiction here? You want me to stop? You want me to be a jnani? You want me to be a sage? Okay, I also want. But then you tell me to fight. So why do you want me to fight if you want me to be a sage and a jnani and develop knowledge? Yeah, he's confused. Good. So that's a question. Thanks to him, thanks to these questions, now we have the whole Bhagavad Gita. And then he asks more and more questions. So sometimes confusion is a good part of learning. When we, as we mentioned, when we know that we don't know, we already know something. Because usually we don't know, and we don't know that we don't know. And that's the problem. Because there is no solution. Because then we are satisfied that we don't know, but we think, yeah, I know everything. So sometimes Upanishad says something in such a way that we understand, wait a minute, wait, what is this? How is this? And then the Upanishad says, okay, that's like that. And also the commentaries, very beautiful commentaries, so powerful. Madhvacharya, then Vedanta Deshika from Ranuda Sampradaya, Baldev Vidyabhushan. Baldev Vidyabhushan, a little bit technical, and he quotes Shankara quite a bit, surprisingly enough, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very sweet, and also very interesting commentary. So by the grace of Bhanuswami is such a benefactor of all the Bhakti Shastri students and teachers. He translates all the commentaries. He translated so many commentaries in the Gita, Shri Vishwanath, Shri Baladev. He has translated all the commentaries by Shri Vishwanath on the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's already there. He translated Shri Vishwanath and Shri Jiva commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is amazing. These are unlimited treasures. These are such treasures to unlock incredible depth and beauty and in the Shastra. We are so blessed. And he's producing them so fast. It's incredible, and they are quite accurate. He doesn't have many mistakes. He's quite good. Manuswami. It's amazing. Yeah. So with the commentaries we can see this. And of course Srila Prabhupada gives his commentaries, and you can see sometimes some echoes of these commentaries in Prabhupada's translation. Although, as I mentioned, Prabhupada's purpose is to produce a preaching book, which is fairly easily understood, more or less not too complicated. So just straightforward. Surrender to God, serve God, and that's the solution. But Upanishad is quite sophisticated, and it's enough not only, sometimes we think, oh, Upanishad, Shri Upanishad is like for the beginners, but it's actually very elevated. It's very good. This is one of the gopis in Krishna Lila. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about material time with 6 stages. What are the 6 stages of any material thing? Coming to being or birth. Growing.
Producing some byproducts.
Producing byproducts.
Dwindling.
Dwindling. Dying. And for some time existing. So again, it's also the mystic or oriental or sacred idea of time. It goes in cycles, right? Whereas the Western idea of time is linear, it just goes in one direction. And once it's gone, hopeless. Even though modern physics, they have some interesting ideas. they still have some ideas about circularity, but that's rare, bordering on mysticism.
Was ist Dwindling?
Geht langsam kaputt.
Ah, ja.
Zerfallen.
So,
Also alt werden eigentlich in dem Fall.
Ja.
so this mantra speaks about vinasha or destruction. Madhacharya, how he explains this verse, I will read it in a moment, but now I want to ask, do you have any questions so far? Yes?
I was just wondering, is it any reason why this is so arranged with the verses that you have balance and then the extreme in Paramba?
Well, it starts with the extremes and bad results.
Because
It's just the conclusion of these verses, the balance.
that is.
It's also the conclusion of this. This speaks about renunciation and surrendering, and then this mantra gives us already a preview of this synthesis or balance mantra too. So one who works in such a consciousness, so there is work, but there is such consciousness. Consciousness meaning, such consciousness meaning detached and bhakti, surrendered to God. So this is a preview of this balance, and then this is a description of the dangers. So mantras 9 and 12 describe the dangers, extremes, that you can be either neglectful of spiritual part, or you can be neglectful of the material part. You know, like you can be too neglectful of the body, or so. Madhacharya says that this. Madhacharya says that here ignorance and destruction means destruction of material qualities. Also in describing the Abhideya Bhagavatam Chatushloki, the fourth shloka of Chatushloki, the four seed verses of the Bhagavatam, second canto. It's 2, 9, 33, 36. As far as I remember, so that's 36. Says that after describing prema, and prema is described amazingly enough almost in the same words as mantras 6 and 7, seeing Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna. That's a loving vision, the vision of love. So, and then it says etavadeva jigyasam tattva jigyasanatmana anvaya vitirekavim yatsat sarvatra sarvada. One should search for this, asking about this until one reaches that state, loving vision, seeing Krishna inside outside, directly and indirectly. And directly is this vidya or absolute, and indirectly is avidya or non or relative, destroying the anarthas, removing the obstacles. That's indirect. Yes.
Oh, I was just remembering in the 11th canto there's also this where Krishna instructs Uddhava, and he also gives this that is the highest principle that one should see everywhere, and until one has reached that stage, one should practice offering obeisances to everyone.
Okay, it's interesting. So I will just add so avidya, this is from the first set of mantras, and from the second set it's relative, and absolute. That's so this will refer to this the second triplet. So in the 11th canto, where he says that you should fall flat before the dog and donkey, yeah?
And then he says until one has reached that stage, one sees everywhere in all the entities God, one should continue practicing.
Falling flat before everybody. Yeah. That's nice. I remember I tried to do this in Vrindavan. I had one dog coming to the VIHE on the roof. Somehow, every time she got pregnant, she would come to me to ask for some bread. So she would come. She knew how to go up the stairs, and she would find me, and she would might make a little sound, and then she would, just wag the tail and look. So okay, then I remember. Oh, I should offer obeisances. So then I said, so I offer my respects, and then I offered my obeisances. And like dogs do when they are surprised. She looked like this. What is this? And I said, well, you are not only your Brijbasi, but I should offer respects to Krishna in your heart at any rate. So this Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, so I should offer my respects to you. So then she made it, all right. So then, but better give me some bread. Yeah, thank you for bringing this parallel up. Mm-hmm.
Which gopi did she become?
How would I know? I don't know. But they pray about becoming gopis in the 87th chapter of the Bhagavatam. Shrutis. And you can see she's very personal.
But like generally, what's the service of these Shruti Gopis?
They are mentioned as Shruti Chari gopis. There are different kinds of gopis that enter Krishna Lila. One category is Shruti Chari gopis. So these are actually personified Shrutis. Shrutis means Upanishads. And they are just gopis. So they are Sakhis of Krishna. They're usually like Sakhis of Krishna, friends, girlfriends of Krishna. That's what they be. That's very so we have the association. But you see, just as a wife or as a girlfriend, she will not go around and describe. She will not describe some intimate details of her husband. She will speak about his glories. She will speak about his powers, or in general, isn't it? So here also she describes. She tells how to approach him, and she gives everything. She describes his glory, and then she gives something a little bit more intimate at the very end. The prayer. Please guide me. Oh, you who are like fire, you know my heart. Please remove the obstacles and guide me to you. And that's the end. Any other questions or comments? I had a group, mostly Indians. So after running for 1.5 hour or 2 hours, I said, so shall we make a little break and do some yoga or Tai Chi? And they said, break? Why? No, please continue. Like all from Brahminical families, and they can sit for 3 hours straight and just completely focused, fresh. So that year we had no exercise. Actually, they didn't need it. It was quite amazing. Okay, so this was these Tai Chi exercises we did was which part?
Avidya.
Yes, avidya or relative. So we need to take care of relative to make ourselves more receptive to the absolute. So as Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that Varnashram Dharma is the ideal organization because it takes care of all the needs of the conditioned soul. We have some conditioned needs and we have some absolute needs and duties. So there are 4 main spheres. This is physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual. So Varnashram Dharma keeps the purity on all 4 levels: physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual. So both are all four are required for a harmonious development. Because as we we spoke about different possible extremes. So we can maybe discuss a little more about some of these possible extremes. So they can be positive, they can be negative. So we have vidya and avidya. or we have absolute, and we have relative. So what can these be? So some other examples could be karma. So these are what the Upanishad speaks about. Some other examples could be karma, and here would be, tell me, akarma, or who are the people who reject karma usually? Well, no, we don't reject. We have
Mayavadi.
how are they called sometimes technically? What? We have karma.
Atheists.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Jnanis, thank you. So jnana. So jnana and karma. Jnana is the synonym of vidya, which is something similar. Now, then, according to the acharyas, there is something interesting. Avidya, they refer to as sadhana. So this is Madhvacharya and Baladevi Debhushan. Sadhana. Why? Because it deals with temporary. Sadhana means that means removing temporary obstacles or material obstacles, or removing ignorance. So because it deals with ignorance, that's why it's also connected with ignorance, just like Varnashram Dharma. And we have some people who reject this, and this is very interesting. We have actually wonderful devotees. In fact, they almost destroyed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, because they said, well, this is just external. This is material. Varnashram Dharma is material, and dealing with sadhana and karma and all these things is total material. Forget about it. And what was the result? We had Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement almost completely covered and swallowed by Sahajiya, by all kinds of Apasampradayas. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had so much trouble and Bhaktivinoda Thakur had so much trouble to recover it from disgrace it sank into. It was a hippie movement. You can read it. The festivals, our festivals, were orgies. People were coming together to have sex without any discrimination of whose wife, which is so respectable people wouldn't even they would think you don't want to have anything in common with that. And Bhaktisiddhantaji had to really fight with this. Why? So they said, well, this is sadhana, this is external. Varnashram is external. This is the rule. This is external. Just chant, just sing. And they hated Bhaktisiddhantaji for this, and they still hate him. You still have them. They're still there. And you can still, almost in the same places. They don't have that power, but you can go to them and they will say, yes, you're chanting Hare Krishna, so nice, Prabhupada, very good, yes, you're a good boy, good girl. But then you talk to them and then they say, yes, but Bhaktisiddhanta, no, he wasn't authorized. They still hate him. Till today, right? He spoiled all the fun for them. He cut the money supply, and everything else. I have so many friends who went over to Radhakund and got reinitiated, and they told me what's happening there, and I saw the result also. What's out of so many? Maybe I'm sure you also may know somebody who went over there, because for some reason I don't know it attracts Russians or Slavic and Swiss people. These are the two main groups who go over there. Probably because Russians are sentimental, and Swiss they always need top of the top. So Radhakund is top of the top. So these, amazingly enough, these two meet there in Radhakund, and then I can tell you many stories about what happens next afterwards. not very impressive. Of course, there are saints there. There are saints, no doubt. But at the same time, there is also still the same thing that Bhaktisiddhantaji was struggling with, and that Srila Prabhupada was warning us about. So what was the idea? Their idea is no need for varnashram, no need for rules, just chant. But that's what Isopanisad warns us about. If you just exclusively worship, so this is sadhya, right? Sadhya or goal. Sadhya or perfection, you can say, or just practicing the positive part. You need something to write on. I will be giving out these so you can write them back here. So they say this is temporary. Just focus on the positive. Focus on chanting and what Isopanisad says. If you neglect one of these, then if you just do Avidya, you go to hell, and if you just do this, you go to hell. And we see that's what happened. That's what's happening. Even in our movement. Prabhupada speaks about devotions, because it's more like a preaching translation and rendition. Prabhupada speaks about so-called religionists. It happens, it's a universal phenomenon. It happens everywhere. It happens also in our movement, also in our society. So when you focus only on this and forget about removing the obstacles, the anarthas, then also in another camp, you had one very nice, very scholarly young sannyasi, very real scholar, and the emphasis in that camp was, just speak about Radha Krishna. So what he was doing, he was reading Surata Kathamrita. If you ever, do you know Surata Kathamrita? Surata means erotic, basically. Surata Kathamrita, this is of the possible erotic descriptions of Radha Krishna pastimes, this is probably the most erotic. And he was having a seminar on Surata Kathamrita with some attentive bhaktins and girls, and I'm sure it was very exciting, no doubt, and the result is also was very predictable. No longer a sannyasi. Very predictable. Not saying it's bad, not saying it's, we are bad or something. I'm just saying that you give stress to only one part, not even I say, Isopanisad, give stress to one part, forgetting this part, you end up in trouble. We have the other part, which is more like our problem in ISKCON. You focus only on service and removing the obstacles, and you're doing this thing, forgetting about the goal of positive development of taste, and discussing actually at least at some stage coming to Raganuga Bhakti, and at least at some stage giving at least some time to discussing Krishna. To discussing Krishna Lila, and we have people who just say no, just service, external, just work now, samadhi later, and gopis is a taboo, never touch, never speak, and then also what happens? It becomes dry, and it's another extreme, right? So Isopanisad says, two together. Synthesis, that's our path. That's what we need. As in this analogy with a nut, we have an almond, a sweet almond. So you have a sweet kernel, but it's protected with the hard shell of knowledge, and with the green and bitter rind. Rind is this green. How do you say?
Ja, Rinde kann man...
Rinde, you say Rinde?
Ja gut, Rinde ist ein bisschen
yes.
mehr der Baum.
So this can be compared to, so this sweet kernel will be our you can say Rasa Katha, Krishna Lila, Radha Krishna Lila Katha, we can say, yes, this is the positive part. But this hard shell, it will be jnana, it will be knowledge. You are not the body, we are spirit, yes, and the whole 11th canto. You can see in Bhagavatam, every time there is some Rasika topic, immediately after that there is very serious philosophy. 3rd canto, we have a little fun with Karadama Devahuti, immediately after that Sankhya. Or 5th canto, we have a little, very erotic story, Agnidra and Purvachiti, yes. Immediately after that, you have the force of material enjoyment, and you have, very strong philosophy. And then it prepares us, and then we have 10th canto, very sweet. After that, immediately 11th canto with knowledge to protect, to prevent us from taking this cheap or in a cheap or sentimental way, misunderstanding this. So combination, and this green rind can be compared to Varnashram Dharma. Yeah, so you can also write Varnashram Dharma. If I write like this, will you understand Varnashram Dharma? And here we will say what? Rasakatha. Rasakatha. Some acharyas actually say that this vidya or chit, it refers to rasa, knowledge of rasa. Krishna. So you see, the Amala Purana, the perfect Purana, has both. And also, if you compare, there's a lot of these things, and quite a lot of this, but you can see that there's very good protection. Also, Madhvacharya gives, any questions on this? It's not a question. Alright. Questions, comments?
This is already too high knowledge for me. I don't know enough to Rasakatha, VIHE.
Look, you discuss gopis and Krishna. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, and this is Varnashram Dharma. So Varnashram Dharma means Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. Social organization.
Mm-hmm.
Madhvacharya, he translates here because in this 14th mantra we have mention of Sambhuti and Vinasha, which literally means destruction and creation. So he says, he meditating on the Lord as the creator, so this is Madhva, a creator of good qualities, and meditating on him as the destroyer of bad qualities, undesirable qualities. So he says again, these have to be together. So this is Madhvacharya's commentary. So we can all start thinking where is it coming in our practice. So yeah, so this is please tell me, where in our practice do we have this avidya or relative part of our practice?
Regulation? For regulation.
Yes, very good, excellent. This is our 4 regs, 4 regulative principles. That's what it is. So they are negative. They are not bhakti in itself. They're connected only with the material world. They are meant just to protect us from sin, just to protect us from dirt. Because if you don't follow them, the mind will be implicated. I've seen it. You probably also seen it. I have friends who go over there and then just, Lila Katha and everything, and they fly. First 1 year they're in total enthusiasm, total ecstasy. Second year, good. They still have meditation, 3 hours meditation on Giriraj and all the guru line as gopis and everything. Then 3rd year, they start, reading some books on yoga and this. Third year, usually that 3-hour meditation on, Manjari Swarup and everything, it's already out of the window, usually. Japa was never emphasized. Some do first 1-2 years, some end up just 4 rounds or something, something like that. And then 4th year, no problem. And then the 4th year, you see them, they stop wearing dhoti, usually, or whatever, and then stop shaving, usually they stop shaving earlier, and then they, all of a sudden they get 2 girlfriends, or 3, not 1. 1 is somehow not fun enough. it's very interesting. And then once you have a few girlfriends, you need money, right? So then, okay, how to get money? All right, so then they try to get money. And then, time and again, this is the scenario I've seen many times. And so then they still stay somewhere in Raj, and then they try to get it, and then some of them, they go out, and some of them, they are no longer even devotees. They say, well, I'm a devotee of Durga.
Yesterday you could speak so nicely about Muslim. Today you speak so badly about devotees in Radha Kund. And this happens as well in ISKCON.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm not saying this to say that they are bad. I'm just giving this as an illustration of what Isopanisad speaks about. Isopanisad speaks about if you are one-sided, then Isopanisad uses strong words, very strong words. But we can just say that progress will be impeded. There will be difficulties. This is what we see. I'm not saying that they are all like that. I'm not saying that, but this is what we see. You have something?
But let's say if worse comes to worse,
Yeah.
if we had the choice to choose between the two of them, for which would we go?
Why should we choose? Well, and what is the positive here? So 4x is the
Chanting Hare Krishna.
yeah, it's our 16 rounds rule. Prabhupada says that the main instruction of the spiritual master is 16 rounds. Chanting 16 rounds. He says this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that of all instructions of the spiritual master, chanting the 16 rounds of Hare Krishna is the main instruction. So we sometimes see that being one-sided creates hellish suffering for the people or for their followers, even in this life, not to speak about the next life. Then, so Madhacharya, basically, again, just to expand this, so he says working on relative and on avidya means working on anarthas, working on removing anarthas, and this would be working on developing taste. Working on developing taste. So both are required. So Isopanisad recommends both for a balanced progress. Of course, you can also see that how Srila Prabhupada did when he came to America. He just started chanting, he just started singing. He didn't mention anything about regulative principles until they asked him. But then they asked him, and then it's part of initiation. Prabhupada is introducing. Any questions or comments at this point?
I find it very helpful because we are so truth and from not in ignorance about these things, then how can I discriminate?
Yeah, and we have seen in ISKCON both, again, it can go on both sides. We can neglect our health or body, so that would fall into that side, neglecting the relative. Or we could neglect study or japa, like again, like if you know, like Manidhara was saying that in the early days nobody cared whether you finished your 16 rounds or whether forget about reading, you know, it's just do service. So so that again, you see, it wasn't balanced. In our society, definitely. I mean, everywhere, in any society, we have these. Otherwise, why would Isopanisad dedicate six verses, 6 mantras to this? Because Isopanisad encourages us to worship the Lord, to develop the loving vision. Yes, and in the following mantras, we have even some more about bhakti. The next one speaks about prayer. But 6 mantras speak about balance, and 6 mantras speak about 2 dangers, you know, going on one side or going on the other side. And then it says that by this you destroy death, you know, destroy the temporary, destroying the death. You know, like there is famous Nrisimha mantra, Mrityum Mrityum Namamiham. Yes, I worship the death of the death, offer my obeisances to the death of the death. So death. What is our death is anarthas, or undesirable qualities. That's our death. So this is the death of the death. Krishna is the destroyer of bad qualities. And so that's one side, and at the same time he's the creator of the good qualities, so we have to give enough time to Krishna Katha, Lila Katha, to study, to all these things. And by that we develop Amrita. Amrita basically means not only immortality, but it means nectar. Nectar. So this is the recommendation of Sri Isopanisad. And this was also Prabhupada's recommendation. Giriraj Swami says that when they were in Bombay, and he noticed that some devotees are missing from the evening program. Then he said, where are they? So he said, well, they are out collecting and working with life members. So Prabhupada said, then if they don't come for the evening program, then how are they different from the karmis? You know, you have to dedicate, you know, some time to spiritual program. So Prabhupada's idea was, you know, morning program, evening program, for spiritualizing our mind, and especially, you know, if you are dealing with the material energy a lot, then it's heavy on your mind. Even if you are a brahmachari collecting, either selling books or collecting donations or, you know, making life members, brahmacharini, it's heavy. It's there. It's weighing. So we need to re-spiritualize with a strong spiritual program.
And also in Bhagavad Gita there's this one verse that's in the 6th chapter, I think, where it's asking how Arjuna is saying that he can't control his mind.
Yes.
And Krishna says you can do it by
Abhyasana vairagena. Yeah.
And regulations also.
Yeah. By practice and renunciation. So this will be, practice will be here, and renunciation will be here. Yeah, we can add it. Very good. So this will be abhyasa, or practice, abhyasa, and this will be vairagya, or renunciation, from the 6th chapter of the Gita. And by that you destroy temporary, by this you develop eternal. Yeah? Very good. So, to conclude, I would like to scare you and then make you happy by reading some. You already have it.
The same.
Yeah, it's the same. By reading you something from So find this page which starts with Bhishma. Bhishma said. You can find this page where it starts Bhishma said. So the question was, this is from Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, as far as I remember. Yes, Shanti Parva. And Yudhishthira asked actually about different paths and about renunciation and about japa. So he's called here reciter or whisperer, in a funny translation because he whispers. You know, whatever japa, they would whisper Om usually. So then Yudhishthira asks, this is all in English, this is from that Kishori Mohan Ganguly's Mahabharata, these 4 volumes there. Yudhishthira said, "Thou hast said," it's almost like from, same as in German, hast. Thou hast said that as regards reciters, they obtain this very high end. I beg to inquire whether this is their only end or there is any other to which they attain. So, do they all achieve success? And Bhishma said, "Listen with concentrated attention, O puissant means powerful, monarch, to the end that silent reciters attain, those who chant japa, and to the diverse kinds of hell into which they sink," because Upanishad twice mentioned that those go to hell and those go to an even worse hell. Yeah. Now, if you don't chant japa, you go to hell. You chant japa, you go to an even worse hell. Oh my God! What is this? So here's what Bhishma says: that reciter who does not at first conduct himself according to the method that has been laid down, and who cannot complete the ritual or course of discipline laid down, has to go to hell. So, Purashtarya, that means that there is some prescribed procedure. How do you chant japa, and how do you prepare for initiation? How do you prepare for japa? What are the rules and so forth? So if one doesn't follow, one has to go to hell. That reciter who goes on without faith, who is not contented means satisfied, with his work, and who takes no pleasure in it, goes to hell without doubt. They who follow the ritual with pride in their hearts all go to hell. That reciter who insults and disregards others has to go to hell. That man who betakes himself to silent recitation under the influence of stupefaction, so in other words, just without understanding, just with being confused, not or just under some force. Stupefaction, do you understand, Philip?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really some strange condition of the mind. And from desire of fruit, so this is tamas and rajas, yeah? Desires to get something, obtains all those things upon which his heart becomes sad. That reciter whose heart becomes set upon the mystic powers, attributes or siddhis, that go by the name of divinity, Aishwarya, has to incur hell and never becomes freed from it. So it's like the most dangerous. Patanjali also warns that mystic powers is the most dangerous side track from the path. That reciter who betakes, one who chants japa under the influence of attachments to earthly objects such as wealth, wives, husbands, etc., obtain those objects upon which their hearts are set. That reciter of wicked understanding and uncleansed soul who sets himself to his work with an unstable mind obtains an unstable end. The battery is gone here. Can I... No, it's still there. Oh, I shifted the room. So, chanter who chants japa with unstable mind gets an unstable end or goes into hell. That reciter who is not endued with wisdom and who is foolish becomes stupefied or deluded, and in consequence of such delusion has to go to hell, where he is obliged to indulge in regrets. If a person of even firm heart, resolving to complete the discipline, betakes himself to recitation, japa, but fails to attain to completion in consequence of his having freed himself from attachments by a violent stretch, in other words, he becomes renounced too sudden, too abruptly, he becomes renounced. Therefore, he cannot continue. Without genuine conviction of their inutility or harmful character. So he thinks, oh, this is all Maya, he leaves material things behind, abruptly, without sufficient realization. He also has to go to hell. Are you scared yet? Yudhishthir said, when the reciter, or one who chants japa, attains to the essence of that which exists in its own nature, without being anything like created or born objects, which is supreme, which is indescribable and inconceivable, and which dwells in the syllable Om, forming the subject of both recitation and meditation. Indeed, when reciters attain to a state of Brahma, why is it that they have again to take birth in embodied forms? Bhishma said, in consequence of the absence of true knowledge and wisdom, reciters obtain diverse descriptions of hell. The discipline followed by reciters is certainly very superior. These, however, that I have spoken of, are the faults that appertain to it. So what are the faults? No faith, no satisfaction in our duty, pride, insulting and disregarding others, stupefaction and desire of fruit, desire for mystic powers, unstable mind, violent or abrupt renunciation. Yes? So these are the faults. So now Yudhishthir asks a very good question. So can you please tell me, what hell does this unsuccessful reciter go to? I feel, O king, a curiosity to know this. It behooved thee. In other words, it would be good if you tell this. So Bhishma said, thou hast sprung, so you have been born from a portion of the god of righteousness, of dharma. So you are born from the god of dharma. Thou art by nature observant of righteousness. So by nature you are righteous. Listen, O sinless one, with undivided attention to these words resting on righteousness as their basis. So what are the hells to which these unsuccessful japa reciters go? Those regions that are owned by the high-souled gods, that are of diverse aspects and colors, so very variegated and very bright, of diverse descriptions and productive of diverse fruits, so very rich in rewards, and that are of great excellence. Those ears, those cars, it must be, those cars again that move at the will of the riders, so cars that you just wish, and these are not cars like spaceships or something, that you just wish and it goes wherever you wish. Those beautiful mansions and halls, it should be halls, not halls. Those various pleasure gardens embellished, because this is a scam, so there are some mistakes. Those various pleasure gardens embellished with golden lotuses, those regions that belong to the four rulers of directions, and Shukra, Venus, and Brihaspati, and the, so this is Jupiter and Venus, and the Maruts and Vishwadevas, and Sadyas and the Ashwins, and the Rudras and the Adityas and the Vasus, so these are all the demigods, and other denizens of heaven are, O sire, spoken of as hells. So these are the hells. When compared with the region of the Supreme Soul. Are you relieved now? So this is the hell, where lotus-filled ponds and golden palaces and cars, that, spaceships that move at will. You just think and they move. So these are called hells when compared to Vaikuntha, to the spiritual world. That's the hell that unsuccessful reciter goes to, and that's also the hell that unsuccessful follower. That's the same hell. And you can see Prabhupada actually speaks about the moon, the sun. You remember the higher planets. Also here he speaks about the other planets. These are the hells of the unsuccessful yogi. You go to a heavenly planet, but you're stuck there for a long time, right? So that's why it is hell compared to the eternal world, compared to Krishna Loka. So this is the hell. So even though we may be criticizing, or Upanishad tries to scare us, but it's better to be an unsuccessful yogi than a successful karmi, because this is the hell that an unsuccessful yogi goes to, or bhakta. Even we do mistakes, even there are some bad things, but even a small progress on this path saves from the greatest danger and gives the highest reward. Shri Bhakti Marga ki jai, Shri Isopanisad ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nidai Gaur Brahmanande. Questions or points? Comments? So are you scared or are you relieved? Or are you inspired to find the balance between jnana and karma, between sadhya and sadhana, rasa katha and varnashram dharma? Meditation on Krishna is the creator of good qualities, as Madhvacharya describes, and destroyer of the bad qualities. Between the 4 regulative principles and 16 rounds and the books. Between working on anarthas and working on developing taste. Between abhyasa or practice and vairagya or detachment. Between developing knowledge and dealing with ignorance. Between worshipping the absolute and supporting the relative. As Prabhupada says that in that mantra about vidya and avidya, that we reduce the fever from 30, instead of from bringing it from 39 to 42, we bring it to 36 and 6, but we don't reduce it to 0. Right? Sometimes we can go into extremes. So balance, proper balance, that's the ideal. That's what Isopanisad advocates. And that's bhakti. That's why it's so practical. Bhakti, no other yoga is as practical as bhakti, because bhakti can be done in any condition of life, in any place, by any person, on any level of advancement, and anyone can start this process and in a wholesome, gradual, harmonious way advance and come to Krishna. Yes?
I have a comment about the 16 rounds.
Yes.
Ramkanta was one, he's mentioning all the time, but actually he's saying that we're not chanting 16 rounds.
Oh, yes, right, sorry.
We are chanting Hare Krishna. So, saying that we're that belongs to the absolute side, and having a limited number seems like a kind of a contradiction.
Yeah, it's actually many times during initiation, Niranjan Swami, when somebody says, I promise to chant 16 rounds, he corrects the person and says, minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra. Minimum 16 rounds. Yes. Prabhupada wanted us to chant more. And 16 rounds is just a token. But for some people, even 16 rounds is difficult. Okay, so then they start somewhere. Even 1 round is good. Even just 1 Krishna, already the person is most respectable, right? Already, according to Rupa Goswami and Nectar of Instruction, means in our mind, we respect them. Even, Prabhupada says that even if they are a sahajya, still we respect them in our mind. Maybe we don't want to associate with them, if they have bad habits. Maybe we don't want to associate with them, but we respect them. So there is nobody we shouldn't respect. So here is the. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So here, let's have some more on our homework. So try to see if you can strike a balance in your chanting between these two parts, because this would be like removing distractions. And I have the experience. Sometimes I even managed to be very attentive in my chanting. I really, screwed up, how do you say, twisted the arms of my mind and forced, here, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and I forced the mind to hear. But after such attentive chanting, what I felt was actually a repulsion from Hare Krishna. Because this is not what's meant. So we have to, on one side, yes, it has to be attentive, remove distractions, but on the other side, we have to meditate on the positive. Who is this Krishna? Whose name we are chanting? This is a person, and this is a marvelous, very beautiful person, and he's my friend. So he's my savior. He's my very kind protector. Whoever he is for each one of us, he is some. You can think, who is he for you? He's individual for all of us. He has some most attractive things. So while chanting, we can try to do the balance. One side remove distractions, on another side practice the positive, like we were meditating on Krishna's qualities. So who is Krishna for you? What side of Krishna is most attractive for you? So developing taste and personal relationship. So that's one thing we can do. Another thing, it's again important to keep practicing this seeing Krishna in all and all in Krishna, and trying to do some acts of kindness to others. So we can plan, what can I do nice to another person. We discussed this when we spoke about charity, I think yesterday in the class, right? So you can think, what nice can I do to the other person? We can mention, even just say something about their qualities, or just give some positive feedback, and even just these good words are already something that can help a lot person. Sometimes some of us are starving. No one ever told us that they like us, or that we have even one good quality or something. So even that is something, an act of kindness, like the minimum. Yes?
Akuma said one nice thing when he gave the seminar. He said, catch others doing something nice.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah, that's the famous thing. Also, it's in that Peter Burwash, Prabhupada disciple. That good manager knows how to catch people doing good things. He's expert in catching people doing good things. Yeah. So let's try to do that. And we can plan, we can think, what good, how can I make something good or kind to other devotees, at least devotees, if you cannot do it to non-devotees, at least to devotees. What can I do, something kind, that's the main thing, something friendly, and then do it. Have a comment? So, and continue with this, trying to see Krishna in people around us, in devotees and non-devotees, and trying to see this balance, and also try to you can make a list where in my personal life do I have imbalance in these two. what are my personal dangers of going too much into relative or too much into this exclusive, this not only knowledge, imbalanced knowledge that we are learning about. Okay, so japa, balancing, combine these two sides, no distractions but personal qualities of Krishna. So it's like continuation of this exercise. Continue doing this, but add acts of kindness to others, and you can also make a personal private list where what are my dangers of imbalance on one side and on the other side. Is it alright? So thank you very much for your tolerance and attention. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.